Hi, I'm Howard Hewett.
I'm Carolyn Griffey.
And I'm Jeffrey Daniel.
And we're Shalamar.
So how did we come together as a group? We've had a couple of different lineups for this group. It was like, back in the day, it was me, Jeffrey, and Jody Watley, and now it's me, Jeff, and Carolyn Griffey. And we came together. Well, Jeffrey and Jody came together first before they recruited me. Before Jeff recruited me back in
79.
79, yeah, 79.
Well, actually, the genesis of the group is that from the Soul Train television show, and I was dancing on the Soul Train television show, and a dance partner of mine and I became one of the most prominent dance partners on the show. And so Don Cornelius eventually formed Soul Train Records, right? And then he partnered with Dick Griffey, and then they turned it into Soul Train Records, and then from Soul Train Records it went to Solar Records. But I was originally signed onto Soul Train Records as our first album with Shalamar, and then after that it evolved when Dick and Don parted ways. Don continued with the TV show and the Soul Train Awards and that, and Dick Griffey took on the record company and turned it into the Solar label, and so that's how it actually began from the beginning. Our very first producer for the song Uptown Festival, which was a collage of Motown songs. And back then, disco was very popular. There was a lot of studio disco groups going on and stuff like that at the time. And so he's from Morocco, Simone Susan. And he knew about the Shalamar Gardens. Excuse me. That's why in France they have a Shalimar perfume, which is the fragrance of the Shalamar Gardens, which is this beautiful gardens built by a sultan. It has like 500 caretakers. It has water pumps with no machines and all this stuff. So it's the Shalimar, the fragrance of the perfume. Well, we took the L-I and turned it into a L-A, and we're Shalamar, the fragrance of funk, soul, and dance music.
There you go. And there you have it. My musical influences. Well, Carolyn, you tell yours first.
I didn't have any.
You didn't have any?
I'm just kidding. No, well, I mean, we talked about it off camera because of the fact of course, because my father, Dick Griffey, Solar Records, Soul Train Records, Shalamar, they were my favorite group as a child. So they were a big part of my youth, music. Don't start. And of course, as a young girl, you have crushes. So I mean, they were the super group for me growing up. So they were huge.
So we were your influence.
Yes, Howard, you guys were my influence.
I don't know, mine coming up. Of course, I had, because I've sung since I was 10 years old, and I went through. My influenced by, of course, Stevie Wonder, of course, Donny Hathaway, and then the man Marvin Gaye. But the thing that I found that the thing that made them unique was the fact that they were unique. So, at an early age, I took all those influences and rolled them up and then put some of my stuff in there and so that was really really important back then, which was to have a unique sound.
My musical influences, wow, that's such a difficult question, because my influences, and people listen to it, it's such an eclectic group of artists, from Charlie Chaplin to Danny Kaye to Sammy Davis Jr. to James Brown. All these things I was influenced by as a performer and a singer. So, but the person who I love the most, and I can never sing like him, but I try. And in my shower, I think I can. Luther Vandross.
I've heard you sound like Luther.
Thank you. Luther Johnson.
Live over on 54th and Crenshaw.
Worked at the gas station. Okay, I have to give credit to the Electric Boogaloos because that's where the first backslide step came from. And I wanted to do it on stage with Shalamar, so I perfected it and modified it so I can take these long strides and glide across the stage. And I pioneered the dance. That I do take credit for being the pioneer of it. And to be able to take something that we're doing in our community, from locking to whacking to eventually body popping and on. And to take that and to take it around the world and see a reaction that people are getting from it was just an amazing thing. And then for Michael to recruit me to be his choreographer, his personal teacher, and then I worked with him for 20 years. And it was an amazing experience. There's so many videos that I choreographed because you don't put your name on the videos necessarily. I even did a video for her mother, Carrie Lucas.
And you even choreographed for me?
And for her group, Absolute. So, you know, so there's so much work that's in there that some people don't know, but there's a lot of work in there, but I've been very blessed.
The most memorable moment for career-wise, because there's a lot of memorable moments, but they don't have to do with career like your kids. And
It was
stuff
that time
like
you
that.
had toilet paper on your shoe on stage, right? I'm just kidding.
Exactly. Yeah.
Just kidding.
I don't know. I think one of the most memorable moments, even just recently within the last 10 years or so, was when we played the London Palladium in London, and I stepped out on stage for sound check, and I was it just overtook me because one of my favorite albums is Marvin Gaye Live at the London Palladium.
Wow.
And when we stepped out there for sound check, I was just, I actually called Jan Gaye before she passed away, God rest her soul, just to, just say, yo, Jan, guess where I am, and it was just amazing. It was amazing to me.
For me was when we got inducted to the Camden Walk of Fame there in England, because a lot of times, growing up, and like I say, being a huge fan of theirs originally, there was already such a huge mantle that had already been set. But when we were also told that the work that we had done collectively and touring for over 20 years together had played a part in that induction, that moment for me was defining, because I realized that, this is, and we discussed this, this is a continuous legacy, and it's a beautiful legacy in the fact that I feel blessed to have been a part of it. So I think that was it for me.
I would have to say one of my most memorable moments was the first time we performed as Shalamar on Soul Train, because I started off a Soul Train dancer, and I'm always watching the artists up on that stage. So for the first time, I went up on that stage, and Don Cornelius is now interviewing me and introducing me to the public as a member of a group. And my late sister Joyce Daniels, she was there too, and she was watching, and she was cheering me on. And like all the other dancers who were my friends and that, they were just cheering me on, because I'm one of the ones who made it up. And to stand on that stage and see all my friends and know that now I'm in a recording group, that was an amazing experience.
Man, that's a hard question. Because sometimes, fortunately, praise God, I've had an opportunity to perform and collaborate with some of the people that I looked up to as I was coming up, like Luther Vandross and all those people. But past or present, I would have to say Marvin. Yep, I would have to say Marvin. I would have loved to have, I met him a couple of times through the years before he passed, and there's a photo floating around somewhere where he was coming when he won the Grammy for Sexual Healing, and he was coming into the Biltmore and the after party for the Grammys, and I was leaving out, and the photographer was like, Howard, Marvin, take a picture, take a picture. So somewhere there's a picture floating around where Marvin's like looking at the camera, you know, he's like, and I'm like, and so I would have to say that I am still a big Marvin Gaye fan. Yeah.
That's hard for me because I know it sounds strange coming from a musical background. I love a lot of people, but that's not really something I think it's more personal for me. And it sounds silly, is my mother. My mother, I've always been a fan of, my mother, her name is Carrie Lucas, and she's on the First Lady of Soul Train Solar Records, and I always idolized her voice because she has this clear resin and just this sweet, and my voice is so completely different than hers, but sometimes I'll hear an inflection that I'll say, wow, that sounded like my mom. So, we've just recently talked about, before we leave here, that would be something that I would want us to do together. So.
An artist that I would like to work with, once again, that's very hard because I like so many different artists across so many different cultural lines. But I would have to say Sakamoto Ryuichi. He's a Japanese composer. He did movie soundtracks. If he did jazz, he did amazing jazz. If he did reggae, if he did funk, if he did classical, whatever he did amazing. And I almost had a chance to work with him one time in Japan. But he passed away about a year ago or so. And the first time I went to Japan in '83, as the plane was landing, I was listening to his music from the soundtrack of Merry Christmas to Mr. Lawrence as the airplane was landing in Japan for the first time. Wow. And it's just, he had such an effect on me as to be original, to be expressive, and to be daring. He had that influence on me, so I would have to say Sakamoto Ryuichi. If you guys want to look it up, Google him, go to YouTube and look up the music of Sakamoto Ryuichi. You will be so impressed.